They say rook pawn endgame is very confusing, very tricky, but guys, here's the solution. There are two positions, Philidor's position and Lucina position. If you understand these two positions really well, then I will say you have at least covered 60% of the endgame problems when it comes to rook pawns, because these two compromise almost 60 to 70% of all rook pawn endgames. So what is Philidor's position? Philidor's position is when you have a king and rook, and your opponent has a king, rook, and pawn, and you are trying to defend the position and hold it to a draw. So before we move on to the Philidor's position, imagine this is the position. You are playing as white. You have an extra pawn which you are trying to promote to a queen. How do you promote this pawn to a queen? Well, let us first understand how do you win this game. In this position, first white plays the move king to g6, and this is a very obvious move, because after a move like king g6, what happens is that you are threatening a mate rook to a8, so this rook cannot leave this file. Now in this position, white's next idea is to push this pawn to f6. So for example, if he plays a move like rook to c6 check, there is pawn to f6, and now there's only one move for black, that is to get the rook back. And now over here the idea is very simple. You play rook g7 check. There is only one move. I mean, you can go king f8 or king h8. There are two moves over here. Now king h8 loses because you have rook h7 check, and after king g8 there is this beautiful move pawn to f7 check, and over here you just lose the rook, and of course white is winning. And again, instead of king h8, if you go king to f8, the idea is simple. You play rook h7, you're threatening this check, and there is no defense for black. The only move is king to e8, and then you give this check, you take the rook, and now this pawn is rolling because the king is too far. So coming to this position, the initial position, what was the plan for white? The plan for white was to put the king on g6, push this pawn so that this rook is tied in the last rank, and you are winning. Now for example, after a move like king g6, what if black does not play rook check first but plays a move like king to f8? Well, over here this makes no difference, because now you play the move pawn to f6, and white is winning this game. So coming back over here, there was just a simple plan for white. Get the king to the 6th rank, get the pawn, then this rook is tied in the last rank, and then you just win the game, like by getting the rook to check and something. And guys, one more important point I would like to say is that you can win using this technique irrespective on whichever file this pawn is on, like any of these files. Now is this winning when this pawn is on the knight's file? We will get to know shortly, but for now it is important to understand how to win this position as white, and I hope all of you have understood it by putting your king on the 6th rank and then pushing your pawn and winning. Now we come to this position. This is the same position as the previous one, except that it is black to move over here. So we have already learned that in this position, if it was white to move, white's plan is to get the king to the 6th rank, push the pawn and win the game. So if you are black over here, what is your plan? Your plan is very simple. You need to stop this king from coming to the 6th rank. So over here you play the move rook to c6. And guys, this is the Philidor's position. Like over here, how to defend this position? It is very important. 6th rank cutoff. You don't let your enemy king come to the 6th rank. Now over here, if white keeps giving checks, this is just a draw, because like white is not progressing from here. Like even you can even go something like king f7 or something, and let's say white does not play a check and white plays something like pawn to f6. Now over here it is important, if you play a move like rook c8, then you come back to the same position and white is winning. So over here guys, it is important that you start giving checks from the back. So over here, the only move guys, the only move for black is to get the rook to c1. And the point being that now if white comes king g6, threatening a mate, you start giving checks, and no matter where white goes, you continue giving checks like this. And when he goes here, you start give check, and if he goes away, then you again get this rook to to f1, hitting this pawn, and there is no way how white can defend, because the moment the king comes in, you start giving checks from behind. So that is the difference over here, that you put the rook on the sixth rank, you cut off the king from the sixth rank, and if the pawn comes to the sixth rank, now the thing is that now you get the rook behind and start giving checks, and this is how you can easily hold this position as black. And also, I mean, something like over here, white has nothing, no other moves apart from rook a8 check and f6. If white plays a waiting move like this, then you are very comfortable, because there all the moves win for you. I mean, you are holding this, you can start giving checks. I mean, the king can come here, and now you can again go behind. The point is that after king f over here, the moment the king comes to the sixth rank, you either give a check from here or from behind. So I hope you are. I hope the concept is clear. I mean, the concept is very simple. Sixth rank cutoff, and you are holding this game. Moving on to the next position, guys. This is the same position. The only difference being that this pawn is now on the knight's file. So remember, I had asked you a question. What do you think? If the pawn is in the knight's file, do you think white is still winning if it is white to move, or black is holding? Do pause the video and try to think about it while I give you the solution. So guys, when the pawn is on the knight's file, no matter what you play, black is holding this. For example, if you think that you want to go king g6, now of course black has rook c6 check, and we have said that if you can cut the king from coming to the sixth, coming to the sixth rank, you are of course holding the game. And now let's say if you play a move like this, you start giving checks, and there is no way how white is going to escape the checks, and black is holding. Now the immediate next move that comes to your mind is, you know what, I don't go king g6, but I go king h6. Now that if he plays this rook c6 check, I have pawn to g6. But guys, over here the small difference is that after you go rook to c8, in the first puzzle we saw that you had this check, king was moving in. Now the point being that there is no extra file for the black king to move to. So after this check, the point is that after king g8, there is no g7 that comes with a check. So black is still surviving this game, and there is no way how white can progress. And similarly, after king h6, black does not even need to give this check. Black can just keep his rook anywhere on this file. Let's say a move like rook to b8, or a move like rook to d8, e8. Everything is holding. The point being that after a move like g6, black just sits on the last rank, and black is asking a question, you know what, I won't move my rook from this file, so there is no checkmate. How do you progress? And white has no answer yet. So black is holding in this position, irrespective whatever white plays, whether it is king h6 or anything. Black is surviving this game easily, and he's holding. So guys, I hope you have gotten the basics of Philidor position. And now, before I move on to something new, I want to give this a small test to you. In this position, it is white to play. You are a pawn down. Black is aiming to promote this pawn over here. What do you play as white? Pause the video and try to come up with the move. So, in this position, it is white to move, and we have said that it is important to cut the king from the to come from the sixth rank, and when he comes on the sixth rank, you start giving checks from behind. But over here, guys, note that the pawn is not on g6, but it is on not on b6, but it is on b5. So over here, if you thought of the move rook to a check, then guys, this is completely losing, because now black plays king b3. He's threatening a mate over here, and there is no way how to stop this mate. The only move is king to c1, and after rook h1 check, king d2. Over here black plays the move king to b2, and if you play the move rook b8, pawn to b3. And guys, this exactly is what we call as the Lucena position, which we will cover in another video. So I actually set up this puzzle for you. or this position for you in such a way that it comes to the Lucina position, and we set the tone for the next video. However, coming back to the original position over here, if you play the move rook to a8 check, of course you are losing here because the pawn is in the knight's file. We just covered this a moment ago. The only move for white is rook to c1, and now irrespective whatever black plays, like like let's say a move like pawn to b3, we have said that white can just put his rook anywhere on the first rank, and there is no way for black to progress. So guys, if you found the move rook to c1, then give yourselves a pat on the back. It means that you are learning the Philidor's position well, you are understanding the small intricacies in the position, and you are surely improving. Moving on to the next position, over here it is white to move, and I request you to pause the video and try to come up with the best move for white. Now you can see in this position, white has a pawn on f6 and black too has a pawn on g5. So as white to move, do you just take the pawn or what do you play? Now in this position, if you were a bit greedy and you thought, what, this is a free pawn, let's just take the pawn. Guys, we have learned the Philidor position, and we know that this is actually a draw because black has the move rook to c1 with the idea of giving checks from the back. And if you give a check like this, the black just comes king f7, you give a check king f8, and white is not able to progress. If you play a move like king g6, now we start giving checks from behind, and we already know that this is draw. So king takes g5 is not working in this position. So what do you do in this position? The only move that wins for white is king to f5. And now I'll tell you the reason why. Now let's say if black plays rook c1, now because this pawn is causing black an obstacle, black's own pawn is hindering it from giving checks from behind, and now you play this move king to g6, you're threatening a mate in one. Black does not have a check from behind, so the only move here is rook c8. And guys, you all know this, how to win. I am sure you have found out the way now. Rook g7 check. If he goes here, then you have rook h7 threatening this check. So this is winning for white. And if he goes king to h8, then of course the plan is simple. You go rook h7 followed by f7 check, and this is just winning. And the last line, which I hope you had calculated, is that what if now black plays the move pawn to g4, trying to give up this pawn, and you thought that what is black's plan, guys? Black's plan is that he wants you to take this pawn so that he can come rook c1 and remove the obstacle that is that is causing him not to give checks from behind. So over here you just completely ignore this pawn, you play the move king to g6, and the plan is simple. Let's say if he plays a move like g3 here, rook g7 check, king f8, king e8. Now you give this check, you take this, and now guys, the problem is that uh, after he plays the move g2, this comes with a check, so this pawn is not in time for promotion. So guys, if you calculated all of this, then kudos to you. You guys are really strong calculators, like you are calculating really well, and you are surely going to be very good players, because over here black wants to give up this pawn so that this file can open up. So it is important over here that you do not take this pawn, and rather you play the move king g6, because now your plans are clear. Rook g7 check followed by rook h7, and then you give a check, you win the rook, and this pawn promotes to a queen. So if you found this, guys, kudos to you. And now before I end this video, I want to talk about a final concept, that is cutting the king. So let's move to this one. So now in this position, it is white to move, and I hope you see this position carefully and you appreciate the fact that this rook on b1 is not letting the king enter. So this rook is cutting the king from the a file, and we all know that a king and pawn alone I mean, a rook alone cannot stop the king and pawn. So over here, white can simply start playing pawn to g4. The king cannot come here. So like black has no moves. Let's say if he plays king e6, you go king a4. The king and pawn are marching forward. Let's say rook d5, you just simply push the pawn. Now he can give some checks. You go king f5. If he gives the check, you go forward. He can give more checks. You put the king here, and now what happens is that ultimately this pawn is going to promote, and this rook alone cannot stop the pawn. So moving to the next one, in this position it is white to move. There are many ways to win over here. I mean, all the moves like even g5, king f4, everything should be winning. But what I believe is the best way to win over here is to play the move rook to d1, because now you're cutting off this king. The king cannot enter, cannot go past the d file, and we already know that the king and pawn, the rook cannot stop it. I mean, he can start giving some checks, but then you have king e4. Let's say no, the king cannot go anywhere. So if he starts giving check, your king enters, and this pawn is going to promote, and the king is unable to enter. So guys, this was like a small example of cutting the king. And I want to end this video with this last position. In this position, it is white to move, and I want you to pause the video and try to find the best move for white. Now over here, if you found a move like, let's say, uh, just when you see a pass pawn, start pushing it g6, then this is of course not winning, because after rook g1 check, you simply lose the pawn. And if you found a move like king to g4, then black simply has king 6, and now you are no longer winning this game, because the black king is in time to defend this pawn. I mean, to defend this pawn from queening. So what do? We just learned about cutting the king. Of course, you cannot go rook e4 because you just hang the rook. So guys, all this while we saw an example of cutting the king from entering the file. Now in this position, the only move that wins for white is rook to a6. You cut this king along the rank. You cut this king along the rank, and now this king is unable to enter. So over here, what do you play? I mean, this is winning for white. Let's say if he plays a move like king to e5, now you go king g4, rook g1 check, king h5. Now let's say there's a move like king to f5. You you play something like rook a5 check, king e6, king g6. Let's say there's a move like king to e7, king g7, and now a random move like, let's say, rook to g2, and now g6. And guys, once again, I'm going to stop at this position, or rather, no, let me make another random move. I'm going to stop at this position because this is also, guys, the Lucina position, and I want to stop the video over here, because this is going to be the foundation for the next video, that is the Lucina position. Once again, guys, I said there are two main positions that you should know, that covers like most of the rook pawn endgames. One is the Philidor's position, which we saw in this video, where we learned that sixth rank cutoff prevent the king from entering the sixth rank. That is the main theme. And then we also learned about cutting the king through the files, through the ranks, and we got into this position, that is the Lucina position, which is also a very important concept when it comes to rook pawn endgame. So I hope I was able to help you understand what is the Philidor's position, how to hold the Philidor's position, and also if you are white and if black does not know the correct way, or how to win a position if black is unaware of the Philidor's position. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe the channel, and see you soon in the Lucina's position, where we are going to delve into another very interesting rook pawn endgame. So guys, see you, take care, and happy learning. Thanks for watching.